The amount of screen time that kids are exposed to has been a concern for decades. But it's never been this hard to control. Screen time is now an interactive, compulsive experience.
Do you know that 80% of children check their phones every 5 minutes? Today, I'm going to be talking to you about cell phone addiction.
More than a third of Kiwis admit to being addicted to their phones. Over half of young adults say it negatively impacts their mental health. In today's world, screen time is also vital and has social benefits as well. But forcing kids to limit it to the good stuff is an almost impossible task. Unless you're China. A few years back, the country announced a new law. Minors could only access online gaming for an hour on weekends and public holidays. Since then, officials say there's been a 92% reduction in time spent trying to beat high scores. Authorities have hailed that as a win, and now they want to go further with new rules. No screen access between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. for children and teens. A limit of 40 minutes a day for kids under 8. It goes up to 1 hour for children between 8 and 16. And if you're over 16, you get 2 hours, max. The parents are mostly on board with the proposals. Here in New Zealand, there are currently no rules, although National is keen for phones to be banned in schools. So is it time we got serious about weaning ourselves off our screen addiction? Is it time to take China's lead?
Michelle Dickinson is a science educator. She works with young people and technology. Michelle, thank you. What is your experience with kids and the amount of screen time that they get?
So over the last 8 years that we've been working with students of all ages, we've definitely seen a massive increase in screen time, both in schools with the digital technology curriculum, but actually more worryingly at home, where they're getting onto social media and spending a lot of their evenings actually on their phone rather than going out with their friends.
So it's the social media that's the issue here. It's because it's not all bad, is it? I mean, what if they're actually using their screens for schoolwork or perhaps reading the Wall Street Journal online?
I would love it if they were doing that. It's not all screen time is bad, and I think screen time that's controlled in schools from an education purpose, and we teach coding and robotics and all of that requires screen time, that's really good. What I'm worried about, and I think we need to think about as Aotearoa bringing up our children in this digital world, is what is safe screen time and what are children doing when they're home, because we know social media, for one, is not great for mental health.
Michelle, has this actually helped kids and their mental health in China? They're hailing it as a big win, but do we know if it is?
So they don't have any data yet because they haven't done the social media regulation. There was a really good study that came out a couple of months ago in the Journal of Psychology of Popular Media that showed that only a 3-week detox for teenagers, where you just limit them to 1 hour per day, every day of social media, and then make them turn it off, significantly improved their mental health, their body image, and actually made them think that they were doing much better in life just by limiting social time.
Michelle, because so many young people are using these devices, is it now worse than drinking or smoking in terms of effects on young people?
So we have very little data, which is the sad thing. This is basically a social experiment on our kids, which is really worrying. What we do know is social media and videos are highly addictive, and the brain just hasn't formed yet for the teenage mind to be able to resist some of that addiction.
Michelle, should we really be taking advice from China?
Look, I love that we're a free country, and I would not like to see the government put bans on anything that we want to do. So I think it's good to watch what China are doing. They're a very different country to us. I don't want us to ban anything. I'd just like us to be more informed and think about what might be the best for our young people. China obviously thinks they know what's the best. I'm not sure we should follow them.
Michelle, awesome as always. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dean.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Project, and Mark Richardson is here tonight. I think Michelle makes a good point. You start with banning phones and then you're banning elections, and it's a slippery slope.
Oh, look, I mean, in the ideal world, you could say, look, it's up to us parents, you know, to control how and for how long our kids are on their devices and on screen time. But that's the ideal world. The world is never that ideal. So I'm not against some assistance from the government in the form of regulations and restrictions. So yes, so I vote China these elections.
It's not just young people, though. We talk about young people all the time in there. I think old people, I think my generation, who we grew up on social media, we've really fried our brains on social media. I've had a lot of friends go to some really dark places because of social media problems they've got themselves into. So I think we all need a kind of reset on how much time we're spending on our phones.
I couldn't agree more. I have a 16-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I think the real kind of acknowledgement that they're addicted to their devices is if you give them a limit, and then when you get to that limit, you ask them to get off. It's honestly, it's just like taking. They're so addicted.
You want to take the phone. You want to take the phone out of their hand and give them a cigarette. Something healthier.
No.
I would be bringing you in for any parenting advice.
It is. It's a cancer. Social media is a cancer in our society.
Okay, but
ban it. Vote China.
Let's not equate the things. Can I make a helpful suggestion? This is my phone. I don't know if you can see.
That's horrific.
How cracked this is.
Have you run that over with your car?
Look at the back of it here.
It's absolute. This phone is horrific.
Yeah, it's very busted and broken and glassy. And because it's such a terrible device, I don't use it as often.
Right.
So
and maybe because you'd cut your hand off.
I do. In bed, I get bloody fingers.
You've got massive hands as well, or was it a small phone?
Small phone. It's a trick.
It's a trick, ladies and gentlemen.